I just did a budgeting session with someone who was a junior engineer and was laid off as part of the tech layoffs. And they were laid off quite a little while ago. And they've been applying and applying and have not been able to get any work, even though they've been getting like interviews and stuff like that. And so we went over their budget because their unemployment and all of that is about to run out, and they are already partially living off of their severance and their savings. And they were very distressed. It was an extremely hard thing for them. At one point, they were so upset about doing the budgeting that they literally curled up on the floor because for them, it was just that traumatic to have to do this. And the budgeting was specifically for how much longer can they last before they need to go get a job at like a grocery store. And it was very distressing for this person to even consider that they're in this situation, to have to accept that they're in this situation. It was hard for them. And I tried to just say, you know, it's just math. We're just doing numbers. You know, they like math, they're a coder, but they do back-end work. But it was still so hard for them, very traumatic for them, because they had thought, you know, their life was pretty much set, and then that's unfortunately just not how life works. They had already sort of made some assumptions about their budget and figured they had about like 4 months left, and then they were going to be dead in the water. And I said, no, let's look at stuff and let's also look at some things that you can let go of without totally compromising your life. I have a sense in budgeting that I always start with, we say yes to everything. Let's look at everything you've said yes to thus far. Let's look at everything that you want to continue to say yes to. Let's do that. And then once you realize everything you've been saying yes to, some of those things are probably not A, necessary, and B, possibly even something you want to be saying yes to. So it gives you a much stronger sense of what you actually want and nailing down and narrowing down your budget. With this person, I was able to make a few suggestions on stuff that they could narrow down with their budget and ask them about it and stuff. And with those suggestions, they kept getting frustrated. They were like, oh my gosh, that's not gonna help. That's a $10 difference a month. Or, oh, what, now this one's a $5 difference a month? Or, oh, I'm gonna spend $120 less a month. That's not a big deal. Like, each number individually was a very resistant thing for them. It was very hard for them to grasp the difference it could make to spend less money on, you know, $50 less on groceries, to spend $5 less a month on electric bill by just keeping lights turned off more, unplugging some of the stuff that they have, getting rid of Hulu. They were like, oh, that's 16 bucks a month, whatever. And I'm like, it's not whatever. You know, one subscription is still one subscription. Let's get rid of it. You don't actually even hardly use it anymore. You just basically watch like 2 shows on it, and you have other streaming service. This is the one that makes sense. Just going through that with them, and it was just small little things. The most big difference thing that we did was the thing that was $120 a month. That was the biggest thing. Not changing how much money they have, not changing how, you know, much that they're doing with their life overall. Almost all of it was still the same. I still added another 2 months. They now have 6 months instead of 4 months until they're in crisis mode. They were very shocked. When we got to the end of these little tiny bits, they were very shocked. And they thought that they were wasting time a little bit talking about $5 here, or, you know, $10 here, or $50 here, or however many dollars here. It was frustrating for them to go through that, but when they got to the end of it, they were so relieved. They were like, 2 more months is way more than I thought was going to happen. I thought it was going to be a couple of weeks got added into how long I had. not a couple of months. And again, this is not changing how much they have to work with. Their savings and their severance, it hasn't changed. It's not like they have any money coming in, but it means that they're going to get all the way through the winter, and they're going to hit spring before they run out of money. And that gives them enough time to keep job hunting and keep doing interviews without having to be despondent that they went from having a 6-figure career to working at like Trader Joe's. They really struggled with the concept that being a little more frugal could somehow pay them. If you are someone who's really struggling with budgeting and you're really struggling with basically with cutting back because it feels pointless, it feels like, oh, that's too small of an amount to matter. It isn't too small of an amount to matter in actuality if you are in that situation. Now, if you're making decent money, you've got your stuff set up, you have your debt covered, and you're starting to talk about like $5 and, you know, even $50 questions, you probably don't need to do that. You're making enough, your life is stable enough, you have no debt, you're good. But if you are a person who's in a struggling place, if you're having a hard time, if you are concerned about what the future looks like, absolutely $5 questions can help. At a certain point, yes, you need to start having an income, for sure. At a certain point, you have to start making hard decisions about where you live and how much you can afford to live that kind of lifestyle. Like, absolutely, that's true. Big number questions come up once you get to a certain point. There is something to be said for the old, I guess you could call it Great Depression method of cutting back every expense that you can. Ruthlessly saying, you know what? I don't need you, or you're not important enough for me to continue to put money toward. And that's a little hard to do in our current society where everything seems to be subscription based. Your housing is subscription based by paying rent. Your car seems to be subscription based. Like, everything turning into a monthly fee, that can be difficult. But there are things that you can do, and there were actually a bunch of suggestions I made that they were not interested in. They have, for instance, pets, but their pets are all pretty young, and I said, do you really need pet insurance right now? That's a monthly cost. Do you need it? No, I don't think I'm going with that suggestion. Or I was like, you paying for more than one kind of insurance here. Can you combine some insurances and get rid of something? No, I don't think I want to do that. Like, there were some things that were very much that they didn't have an interest in following through with that particular suggestion. And that's fine. I'm not here to say, hey, you're not doing budgeting right because you're not being strict enough with yourself. If you feel like that's essential to your life, it's essential to your life. I just make suggestions and say, do you actually need this? Have you thought about it from this perspective? And that's all. Even if the person gets closer to the 6 months, maybe then they'll rethink some of those suggestions, and maybe they'll do them then. That's up to them. They're aware now, and they can make that decision now, and that's really all the point is. The point is to help a person get closer to their goal, and not, like, berate them to their goal. I don't want to make someone feel bad when they're already feeling so bad that just talking about it puts them in a fetal position on the floor. Like, I have to have patience and gentleness and to stay very, very calm and level-headed while they're distraught. And I have to be the voice of assurance. The goal is for them to have hope. When I leave and I'm done with the budgeting talk, and the fact that at the end they were relieved, that's the goal for me. That's the goal. Them perfectly cutting stuff and getting their full financial, like, every penny min-maxed is not my goal. My goal is to suggest. And my goal is to walk away with them feeling relief from the pressure. Some people, you talk to them about their budget and they are stable enough in their life that they get really excited and they can start to dream big, and it's fun having those conversations. It is. It's fun helping someone realize, oh my gosh, I actually am going to be able to retire with this much, or oh my gosh, I could start traveling. I have enough money left over. I could start pursuing my hobby or whatever it is. Oh, we could start a family. That's a fun kind of budgeting to have. When you get to not just build hope for someone, but help almost inspire them with their own finances. That's fun. When it's someone who's struggling, I think that it's just as important to talk to those people. And it might not be as much, smiles on our faces talking, but they need it. They need the help. People who need the help matter to me. And even if it's a little draining, and even if it's a little emotionally destabilizing, they need the help so much. And it's so important to help people. If every single budget I did was just happy budgets, that wouldn't be fair, and that wouldn't be contributing enough to the universe. I feel like it's important for me personally to give more than I've taken in my life, and to add back to other human beings and to the environment and to the community. To me, that's an important thing. So I don't want to be one of those people who only talks to happy people when it comes to budgeting, or people who are situationally well off. Maybe those people can afford more, and I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I know there's something to be said for serve rich people, because rich people can afford to pay more, but rich people don't need to be richer. Rich people don't need the help. So I try to balance it. I try to spend some time with the wealthy and some time with the extremely poor, because I've been extremely poor. I've been in that position, and I have so much compassion for it. This person is extremely poor when they didn't used to be, and I still have compassion. They were not expecting their life to go this way, and they're only in their 20s. They're not supposed to have everything figured out yet. They don't realize that. They feel the pressure to get everything figured out. They've taken it personally that they got laid off. They feel like it's somehow a rejection, or that they messed up somehow. But that's not accurate at all. It's general layoffs of 10,000 people at a time. They're just a number. I hope that they can get to a point where they understand that. It's nothing wrong with them. It's not anything that they did to deserve to be in the situation that they're in. Sometimes corporations can be quite cruel in their efforts to maximize profits. But a corporation's not a person. A corporation doesn't have feelings, so it doesn't actually care. It's not going to care about your life. It cares about assets and profitability. It's not your fault if you are in a situation similar to the person that I just helped. The system is messed up, and it can be very cold. You don't deserve it. You didn't do anything wrong to deserve being one of the people who got laid off in a big giant rush from tech companies to all be similar with each other and competitive with each other and lay off. Once one company starts doing a trend, let's pursue AI and let's start laying off thousands of people. They all start wanting to do it because they all want to be, quote unquote, on par with each other. They're just penny pinching and cutting costs and trying to increase profitability by helping less humans. That's really all it is. It's not your fault. And it's certainly not the fault of this person. But they've definitely felt the impact of it. I really, really wish them only good things in the future, and if they need help again in the future, I will be glad to do so. But sometimes budgets can be hard to get through, but so completely worth doing. When this person realized that they had basically 6.5 months. It was slightly over 6 months. That they weren't less than 4 months from being homeless or destitute or having to move back in with their parents or however you want to put it. When they realized that, it was like I could visibly see some confidence come back, their shoulders push back a little bit, them breathe a little easier. There's something powerful about being able to fully accept reality and not just avoid it, not just run from it, not just be sickened by it. I really, really have tremendous compassion for you if you're going through something similar. And if you have been scared of looking at your finances because you're just terrified to know, please know that it could be better just from accepting where you're at, because you don't know just how much you've got to work with until you accept. So go ahead and look at it. It can help you.